right, everybody, welcome back. I'm Howie Howard from Mr. Furious Records, joined once again by Michael Carlson, aka remst8. Michael's new album, Coalescence, is out now at bluesanct.bandcamp.com. We listened to some excerpts of pieces last week, had a very interesting discussion. This week, I am playing Unmoor in its entirety. That is Unmoor version 1.23G specifically. Michael, what happened to version 1.22?
Wasn't good enough. I had some notes.
Sure.
Always room for improvement.
Yeah. Turn the drone up at 3 minutes.
Yes.
If you happened not to catch last week's show, Coalescence is a approximately 4-hour album, requested / inspired / commissioned by Mark I Anderson, aka Treka. Am I referring to Michael appropriately here?
It's actually MK. It's Michael, but he spells it MKL. So that's an L, not a 1. I'm so
this
sorry.
This whole time.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I should speak up or not. Sorry.
No, well, I'm glad I asked, and
yeah.
you were welcome to speak up. But Michael, I apologize. Yeah. I do think Mark I is very cool. When you typed it out to me for the first time, I was like, wow, I love that. I took it as some kind of like transhumanist.
I mean, so not to speak for Michael Anderson, but
sure.
There are so many Mikes and Michaels in the world that I can totally understand that a unique spelling helps you separate yourself from all of the others. And so like at work, I've trained everyone to call me Michael because before me, there is a Mike who is now a VP. And so it was common for people to just say Mike, and everyone knew that they were talking about him. And so I kind of trained everyone to call me Michael, so I could tell the difference for if someone says Mike, I know they're not talking about me, they're talking about that other guy. And so, yeah, being able to differentiate yourself from all of the other Mikes and Michaels, it's a thing that we all do. All of us Michaels do, I guess.
So I've only known you as Michael. Did you was there a phase of your life where you were ever Mike, or have you always been Michael?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's and different. So some people call me Mike because that's their context for knowing me is outside of work, and so that distinction is not important. But yeah, even as young as preschool and first grade, my best friend was also named Mike, so I was Mike C and he was Mike H.
I have people in my hometown and like extended family who knew me before like 4th or 5th grade may know and refer to me as Chris.
Interesting.
Which my legal name is Christopher.
Okay.
So I didn't acquire the nickname Howie until 5th grade. My friend Jay started calling me Howie, and it kind of spread and stuck, and I liked it a lot. For whatever, and this helps me have a window and like a lot of empathy for people navigating identity things. Like,
oh yeah,
I mean, Chris was my name, but I never felt super connected to it in a way. Like, and when the nickname Howie was given to me, it was just like, oh, this feels much better. I like this a lot.
Right on.
So, yeah, low stakes, obviously. I'm not trying to compare it to anything, but...
Oh, yeah, for sure.
A very helpful experience on multiple levels.
I bet, yeah. Like I said, I just want to know if you're talking about me or some other guy.
Sure.
I just want to be able to know the difference.
This is a beautiful piece and
Thank
something
you.
Quite unlike other remst8 material.
it fascinates me that you say this.
Okay.
Um, so the method for creating this track, or is it the other way around? So there was a lot of interplay between this track and some of the things I do as part of my live performances. And so the tools and process are essentially the same for the improvisational portion of my live sets for the past couple of years. The only difference here is that I recorded the improvisation and then play it back at half speed to help really lean into the slow record effect. And so it's also interesting to me that this is the one track that gets the most comments. And as mentioned in the last podcast, this is the first one that I made for this particular project that I considered done for the project. And for a time, I considered this to be the prototype for the entire project. I was thinking, okay, it'll just be very minimal, very sparse sounds. But then I kind of reached that point of self-doubt of, does anyone really want to play several hours of sparse sounds? Chances are there probably are a couple of people, yes. But I'm not that confident in my skill. And so, yeah, it's interesting that this track is in many ways an outlier, but in some ways it's kind of it shares a lot of DNA with some other things I've done.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, Harmonioa uses many of the same tools and processes as this track. It's just got some other things going on to distract you. So go back and listen to that one and see if you can find the connection.
I will do that. I'll send you an email about it too.
Okay, I bet you will. I look forward to it. I always look forward to your commentary about my tracks.
I try to, there's basically nothing I love more than hearing people's commentary about my stuff, so it's very golden rule of I really do try and spread it around and show people that the engagement that I had with it, you know?
Yeah.
That's much better to me than, oh yeah, I checked it out, it was great, you know?
Yep. Yes, so this track, its assembly is also probably the simplest of all the others. There's very little going on as far as moving pieces, and yet the way the processing works, in particular the vinyl record effects, the way it warbles the sound just enough, plays really well with the way I split the sound between front and rear speakers it's basically 2 tracks, one, and then each is kind of split in the middle sonically, so that I'm sending high frequencies for one track to the front speakers and the low frequencies to the rear. And then the other track, it's the opposite. I'm sending the low frequencies to the front and the high frequencies to the rear. And the way the warbling effect for the vinyl VST shifts those frequencies just enough that the whole thing feels like it's wobbling when you listen to it on speakers. And it's both awesome and maddening that it's so simple and yet so effective. And I feel like I'm cheating.
I get that. I think I have a very similar feeling when I one of my favorite just stereo tricks is to use the stock phaser in Reaper.
Yeah.
Which is like just super basic as a phaser. There's no graphical interface whatsoever. All the same settings except different speeds on left and right channel.
Oh, yeah, right on.
So those notches and resonances are just not, you know, and sometimes they're opposite and sometimes they're chasing each other, and it's like magic. You know, the way you describe that front and back panning, there would be a kind of a acoustic analog of sitting in between two pianos.
Yeah.
And the keys to one would be behind you. If the keyboards are facing in toward you.
Yeah.
Your high would be, for example, like left front and right rear, and low opposite.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like an album of this would do numbers in the ambient world.
Yep. Curse you, Boards of Canada, for coming back at just the wrong time.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of genres, ambient is one of those that covers a wide range.
No kidding. I mean, yeah, and there's like even, I stay out of it, but there's ambient discourse, or there used to be on Twitter.
Okay.
I forget what it was about. I feel like this is years ago now, but I feel like I talked with Chance.
Yeah.
About the ambient discourse. Yeah, Selvage. Speaking of ambient, there's this drone in my house. I tracked it down just this morning. I know I've been curious about it for a few days. And from where I sit right here, if I took off my headphones, I could hear it. I haven't hummed out the interval, but it's like a major third or a fourth kind of territory. Not perfect, but it's a fan that sits right above me that it's been there for weeks, but I had moved it back, and I noticed the sound. So it must be something about the angle or but it's resonating. I'm pretty seriously thinking about sticking a microphone up and recording like 20 minutes of that.
Oh yeah.
And sending it around to some people. Just
That's what
like,
I'm talking about.
Do something with this. But you would really like the sound. I'm sure you would.
I bet I would, yes.
It has the two frequencies resonate kind of at different speeds. So it has this really nice, just kind of...
That's the good stuff.
The volume of each one. It's got this natural kind of tremolo.
Nice.
But different rates. The challenge would be to keep a cat from running like across the floor with little claw clacks.
Yeah, it's funny how you can find an amazing sound and you'll be focused on that sound and really appreciate it. And then you go to try to record it. And then listening to that recording, you find all of the other sounds that are happening around it that you were not focused on.
Dude, that exact thing. Let me...
As a field recordist, I am far too familiar with that pain.
I am sure. No, there's a track on Frog on the King's Head that is exactly that.
Oh, right on.
It's the one... Or is it on Weirdest Beat Tape? It's on Weirdest Beat Tape. Obviously can't play it right now. I believe it's Lights in the Forest.
Okay.
on a Weirdest Beat tape. But the track I'm thinking of that I'm pretty sure is that track was the ceiling fan in the bedroom at the old place.
Okay.
And it made the most amazing creaking sound. But when I recorded it, I realized that I should have done more to take care of this, but the chain, is like clinking.
Clink, 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 clink.
And that's not the sound I wanted. I wanted the fan and the motor.
Yep.
And then you got wind noise, that I don't, the microphone picks up that, very well. But listeners, if you've never messed with this stuff, like these are the things you discover when you try and capture what seems like a simple sound.
Yeah, there were quite a few hours invested in finding the right field recording for some of these tracks, because I'd have one where it's like, oh, I totally want to use that field recording, and then I would listen to it and it's like, I didn't even notice that airplane flying over before. That's not cool.
Attention is funny.
Yes.
And I guess from one perspective, this whole project is kind of about attention, isn't it? I mean, and the original request was kind of about attention.
Yes. That was also part of the challenge. Was initially I wanted to make it so that it never grabbed your attention. But that's, again, is that really something to be played for multiple hours of something that doesn't grab your attention? Again, for some people, yes. But I eventually relented and included some tracks that do kind of don't necessarily demand your attention, but try to earn it. This track in particular is not one of those.
I don't know. I mean, it certainly grabbed my attention on my first listen, due to the contrast with the surrounding material. It's quite melodic in a way that none of the other pieces are.
That's true.
I think.
In that way, I would agree. It's unlike most of my material.
And you say you improvised it. I mean, do you have a keyboard, or are you improvising in the tracker, or what does that look like for you?
Yeah, so that's the other oddball thing about this particular one is all of the musical pieces were not done in a tracker. So I actually used the Bloom 10 Worlds app by Brian Eno, and I think it's Chris Chilvers. So it's an iPhone, iPad app that there are 10 palettes that you can choose one of. And then each palette has basically a pre-selected sound font, if you will, and then also has a predefined reactive and generative component. And so you can either just press play and let it do its thing, or you can, touch the touchscreen to create notes, and then it'll interact with that. And so it's improvisational in that I was initiating the notes, and then I would kind of listen to how it would react to that, and then I would respond to that. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so I kind of fell into this habit of using that as a sound input for my live sets for like the improvisational piece. So I like to have like a structured portion that I know how it's supposed to go based upon pre-tracked stuff that I kind of mix live. And then I also like to have a portion that's free improv, so that gives me flexibility in the duration of the performance so I can fit within whatever time slot I'm supposed to do. So Again, I don't consider myself a performing artist, but I've built up some methods to help me cope.
You can think of yourself however you like. I have enjoyed several of your performances.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
yeah, take that for whatever it means.
Yeah, the increasingly inaccurate moniker of not a performing artist. I generally don't seek out opportunities to perform, but I will generally do it when someone asks me to.
Yeah. This mode is just quite haunting and beautiful, and part of me wants to, when we're done, like part of me wants to go like hum it out and like kind of figure out the theory out of curiosity, and part of me wants to just leave it alone. I mean, it has quite a strong tonic center, but everything around it feels very floaty.
Yeah.
Go only as far as you want, but talk to me a little bit about the emotions of making and listening to this project, and I'll go first. You know, I find it pretty affecting, and like those first listens, especially the combination of the anticipation, you know, and excitement. What is this going to be? And the discovery of it, and but also I think there's weight in the music itself, and some of that just comes from the attention that it kind of asks for, or is designed to facilitate in another, you know, direction. But and slow music, I think in general tends to have a weight to it. But yeah, say anything you want, and as much as you want or not, about the emotional pieces of it.
Sure. I guess early on in the whole remst8 project, I learned that my intent of trying to evoke a certain emotion often did not evoke the emotion I was aiming for. And that's kind of what informed my current view that I'll make a thing, but I try not to influence your perception of it. And I'm very interested in learning how it makes you feel and what you hear. In part because the way we respond to music is personal, and each person has their own life experience and perspectives that informs how they respond to that music. And so in many ways, it's probably not something I should say, but I don't aim for a particular emotion when I make the music. For me, it's a lot more of a cerebral problem solving, but in a creative way. And that's what the music, for the creation piece of the music for me, is I'm doing some creative problem solving as a way to exercise parts of my brain that I don't get to do during my workday. But also, I just enjoy playing around with sounds, and many times it's just finding those happy accidents and capitalizing on them. And it's not so much trying to say, oh, this is a sad song or this is a calming song. It's really, for me, it's just, hey, that sounded pretty cool. I wonder what happens if I do this. And then eventually trying to funnel it all together into a somewhat cohesive direction so it makes sense in a lightly structured way. And so for me listening, I also want to be kind of surprised. And so I try to not be very heavy-handed in the composition, it's such that I can also experience some of that discovery feeling in stumbling upon something new. But as I get more experienced with doing this thing, I find that I have built up some skills that allow me to be a lot more directional. And so I honestly kind of struggle with trying to keep it experimental in that I'm, trying things out just for the sake of playing around, but also exercising just enough skill to move it in a direction that I like without feeling like I'm producing a thing, if that makes any sense. And so, yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this. And so it's again, I try not to have a stated objective for the listener so much as I'm just trying to play around with sounds, trying to make something that I think sounds cool, and I'm often pleasantly surprised when someone else likes it. But I do kind of take that feedback as far as what seems to resonate well with others, and maybe I'll try to weigh that a little more heavily in my next round of creative endeavors. But yeah, I really struggle with the question of what emotion are you trying to make or do you feel when you listen to it, because I'm mostly just trying to go after the cool sound, which is probably not a very satisfying answer. But
no, I think that's fair, and the way I think about my own thing is like there's some similarities and some differences. Similar in that I don't really try to invoke something specific. Mm-hmm. That's just not how I think about it, and I share a problem-solving aspect. But like, maybe a difference or maybe not, but whatever idea I'm working on, one of the things that I like is to just like try and make it, to use an imperfect painting metaphor. It's like if this piece is like orange and blue, I'm gonna try and make it like the brightest orange and the darkest blue I can make it, and that doesn't map directly onto like happy or sad or whatever. It's a little more abstract than that, but mm-hmm. I try to make, this might just be in my own head, but I try to make every idea like the most colorful version of that idea that I can push it toward.
Sure. Yeah, for me, the ultimate litmus test is, would I want to listen to this again? Which I think is ultimately the litmus test for anyone who is who wants to buy or stream or do whatever to music. It's that, hey, I want to listen to that again, so I'll pay some money
Mm-hmm.
for it. And again, I'm not doing it to make money. I just want to make some cool art. But a lot of my creative decisions are based upon, does that sound cool? Would I want to listen to that? Or is it going in a direction where, no, I've ruined it. I've put too much stuff in, that's too many layers. I need to take some stuff back out to make it interesting again. And that's really the push and pull for me. Because yeah, like for this piece, I was playing around with the iPad app and I wasn't thinking about the end result. I was mostly just listening to what I was getting back and thinking about mm-hmm. what would be interesting to respond to that with. And then of course, taking that recording and then playing it back at half speed puts a completely different, tone to it. And that from there, it's okay, let's put in just a little bit of reverb and then give it the vinyl warble distortion with the crackly sounds. And okay, now you're getting some kind of emotional flavor to it. But I didn't start off with that in mind. It was mostly
Yeah.
just following what I'm hearing and making some creative choices based upon that. Because I'm not a professional musician. I'm just trying to do some things that sound cool to me.
That's what most of us are doing. Yeah, the tonality really shifts toward the end of this one. It's subtle, but it really gives it an arc. We have a couple minutes to go, but we should kind of introduce, we've got a very special experiment and presentation coming up. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the Pensive piece, I'll say.
Okay. So one of the many distractions from when I was supposed to be working on this project, I got invited to contribute to, I wish I knew how to pronounce his name. I think it's Celadon Frame or Celadon Frame. It's spelled with a CH. But they have a regular series called the Asynchronous Drone Orchestra, where they reach out to various artists who contribute a portion of sound, or either field recordings or drones or music that this person then assembles into a continuous mix that goes on for about an hour. And so they reached out to me and invited me to participate, and I was completely thrilled at the invitation. And so Pensive is ultimately what came out of that particular exercise. And I kind of fell in love with the piece. I really enjoyed how dark it was, and of course it's got the cellos droning on, which is kind of a kink for me. And so so I submitted that, and you know, it worked well. And then I actually kind of figured out how to perform that one, so it was incorporated in a few of my live sets. And so this was kind of an opportunity to kind of put a bow on that particular piece by, you know, producing the ultimate final version of it for this. And it was also kind of one of the pieces that I used in my early experiments with immersive and surround sound to try and figure out, you know, how am I going to take something that I composed in stereo and spatialize it. And so while most of the tracks for Coalescence I conceived originally as in quadraphonic, this was one that kind of started in stereo, but with the intent of being surround sound. And so, yeah, it was kind of a journey to get here. But I like where it wound up.
And we are going to present it in its entirety, no talking. So podcast listeners, you'll have I think is it roughly 17-minute or so experience with this piece. And YouTube viewers, you will hear and see the accompanying music video, I think in stereo. So I'll link to the 5.1 version. But what you'll hear on the Dat Fury channel is the stereo version of the video. You can pick up Coalescence at bluesync.bandcamp.com. digital album with stereo files, or the flash drive cassette that we talked about last week with multiple versions of the album. The cassette bundle will probably be sold out by the time you hear this. But if not, there is a special fun bundle option as well. You can connect with Michael at remst8.com. Find more of Michael's music at remst8.bandcamp.com. Michael, am I forgetting anything business-wise?
You got it covered. Thank you.
All right.
Always a pleasure.
It is always a pleasure to talk with you. We'll talk more for just a minute after we let the listeners listen to Pensive, and talk more on a personal patio-style connection soon. I'm looking forward to that. I had one more piece of thank you. Thank you for coming to talk about your album and for sharing it with me so early on. It's been a real joy to go on this journey, and it really, what you created, a journey, and I sent you emails every week or so for the 5 or 6 weeks that I was going through my first listen, and that was a really cool and unique experience, and I mean that literally. I've never
Thank you.
had another experience with an album quite like that. And so everybody, whether you're a longtime ambient noise fan, or if this has been your introduction to this very broad genre of music, I hope you'll check out Coalescence and enjoy it like I have. We'll be back next week with oh my goodness, Corey will be back next week with Mike Papani, Van Ripper, and Galactifader. They have a new rap EP that's out. So you can actually go ahead, do your homework, and listen to that now. I will link to that in the description as well. You can get prepared. That'll be a fun one. But yeah, that's it for this week. Michael, hang out for a second. Listeners, enjoy Pensive on Dat Fury Radio.